Thanks, guys. Hey, RG Nation. Today, Jackie and I are here to talk about agency, the agency relationship forum, and some of the pitfalls and questions that we get here at BS. So, Jackie, let's talk about some of the issues that we see around agency and what are some good do's and don'ts. Let's start with if I don't have a buyer's representation myself, or a listing agreement, or anyone else in the brokerage for that matter with a client, what does that make me?
So all licensees are facilitators by default until a customer enters into a rep agreement.
Whether it's listing or buying.
That's right.
Okay. And here's another thing that we see too, is that could be with anybody at the brokerage. I know for me, like when I'm working with clients, that's my client, and I always think of them that way. But ultimately, that representation contract is with Realty Group. So if I know you're not an agent, but if you were an agent and one of your clients walks into my open house, that you have under a buyer's rep, how do I handle that?
An agency is tied to the brokerage. So if a Realty Group repped buyer walks into your Realty Group listing, a dual agency situation is created, even though you have, two individual agents on either side. Dual agency is created if there's, one Realty Group agent that represents both sides of a transaction, or if you have two different Realty Group agents on either side of the transaction.
So that's here in Minnesota, but what about for our agents out there in Wisconsin or Florida? I know it's a little bit different in those states. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Well, dual agency isn't allowed in Florida. So we'd be in a different boat if we were thinking about what would happen or how that would be dealt with in Florida. Wisconsin has a couple other options for multiple representation when the same brokerage is involved that agents should be sure to consider with their clients when they're talking about agency up front.
And then here's another one that we see quite a bit. I have one of my rental properties, or even my own home, my primary residence. I'm going to list it, and someone comes in to an open house that I'm holding and says, hey, I want to buy this property. What's that going to look like for them? Can I facilitate for them?
No, you cannot. You as an agent cannot facilitate for one party if you represent the other party.
Or could I then put them under a buyer's representation and dual agency that then?
No, you as an agent in selling or buying property are deemed to represent yourself. That's just how it works. You and I talk often about how you never take your real estate agent hat off. Yeah. No agents do, not just you. And that applies in a sale. So you cannot facilitate for the other side when you are buying or selling real estate, and you cannot represent the other side either.
So it's one of those Department of Commerce or Chapter 82 kind of looks, that's where we're that wolf in sheep's clothing and can't really take your hat off to not represent yourself in that one.
That's right. That's exactly right. And if you're selling your own property to an unrepresented buyer, someone who doesn't want to work with another agent, that can't be you, it can be another agent, right? But if they insist on being unrepresented, you should recommend they have an attorney take a look at the purchase agreement just to make sure that you're protected.
Yeah, that's a good point. We want to make sure that we are getting a signed agency relationship form in there that says, I know if I was going to do something like that, I would be writing on the bottom of the second page here, I have been told about all of these. I am choosing to be completely unrepresented, and make sure they sign off on that little verbiage too, because last thing I want to do is get almost all the way through and then they try to claim that they thought I was representing them somehow, correct?
That's exactly right.
What are some of the other things that we should talk about that you feel like are important?
I think it's important to remember that dual agency can be tricky. Dual agents, so when you are involved in a dual agency situation, either because you are representing both sides or there's simply another Realty Group agent on the other side, you can't advocate or negotiate for either party, right? And you can't act to the detriment of either party.
So I'm in my open house. Obviously, I have a listing agreement in place with that seller to be there. Someone walks in and they think that if they come in unrepresented, that they're going to be able to get a discount on the home or get some of my commission back or try to negotiate somewhere in there, whatever that might be. So they don't want me to represent them because they don't want an agent, so to speak. At that point, should I just facilitate for them? Or what's going to happen with that?
No, you cannot facilitate for one party if you or anyone else from Realty Group represents the other party.
If I'm out there doing an open house for another RG agent and someone walks in and wants me to facilitate for them, I still can't facilitate even though I don't have a representation agreement with that seller?
No,
It's not my client, that's Jason's client, so to speak.
But it's actually a Realty Group client, and the agency relationship is with the brokerage, not the specific agent. Even if that specific agent is responsible for that party's specific transaction, the agency relationship is with the brokerage.
It can get a little bit confusing actually in the disclosure, and that's for us that work with it every day. So I mean, this is really an important topic to make sure that we're on top of it, so that way we can help educate our clients or even potential clients, because if they're facilitating, obviously they're not a client. So, all right, RG Nation, that is the agency relationship form and what you need to know when you should facilitate, when you should rep, or dual agency. Be on the lookout in your email. We're going to have a really great info form coming out for you so that we can break this down. If you have any questions at all about agency, make sure that you're calling right here below or emailing broker services. Someone's available to help you from 8 to 8 Monday through Friday and 10 to 6 Saturday and Sunday. Someone will get back to you within 3 hours if you leave that voicemail or send us an email.